Sammy Wilson, first of all, why is this legislation necessary in your view?
Because first of all, we've got a problem with human trafficking, and especially with the use of trafficked individuals in the sex industry. About 2/3 of those who have been identified as being trafficked into Northern Ireland are used in the sex industry, and the police would indicate that in the brothels which they've identified, about 2/3 of those who are in those brothels have been trafficked into Northern Ireland. And the current as a result of the current legislation, not one person has been prosecuted for engaging in sex with someone who has been coerced into the sex industry in Northern Ireland. No, it is not a separate issue, because of course the reason why the traffickers bring women into Northern Ireland, or indeed bring anybody into Northern Ireland, is to exploit them and to get money from them. And therefore, if it is easy to sell them in Northern Ireland, then of course Northern Ireland will become a magnet for bringing them to be sold.
If the legislation already exists, Basil McCrea, whereby it is illegal to buy sex from someone who's been coerced, why is there the need? Why do you think that this debate needs to take place?
I have no idea why the debate's been brought forward. It seems to be for optics rather than any real improvement. It's based upon the Swedish model, which doesn't work. The international research says it doesn't work. It's opposed by the PSNI.
A lot of people think that it does work.
Well, it's opposed. Listen to who it's opposed by in Northern Ireland: the PSNI, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, the PPS, the Judiciary, and the Minister for Justice. All of those people said, we don't need this, this doesn't work, and all of the international evidence says this is a red herring.
Yeah, but Sammy Wilson's point is that that legislation exists at the moment, but it isn't working, therefore it needs to be amended, it needs to be improved upon.
I quoted two bits of legislation, went through the courts. The first one was the definitive one on human trafficking. The person got 3 years. The second one was human trafficking with coercion. They got 7 years. The legislation does work. It is under review. There are constant reviews of this, and the best way of doing this is not through primary legislation, but through other secondary forms.
Okay, it does work, and it's under review.
And that's amazing. I mean, the fact that Basil McCrea can quote 2 cases when there are hundreds of people who are brought into Northern Ireland, exploited either in forced labour, working as slaves, or else within the sex industry where they're abused, and yet he thinks that 2 cases over the last number of years is evidence that the law is working and is effective. The fact of the matter is, it is not effective. The only people who are benefiting from it are the traffickers, who are making mega money from the misery which they impose on those people who they lure to Northern Ireland and who then are abused in lots of different ways, either working in bad working conditions for no money, or else being sexually exploited.
What about the reservations that Basil McCrea has referred to there on the part of the PSNI, the Department of Justice, the PPS, even the Minister himself, it was claimed in the House today?
Well, I think that the Minister is probably reflecting some of the views of officials within his department and some of those who advise him. The Minister should actually take a lead in this if he believes that human trafficking is an issue which needs to be dealt with, and one of the ways of dealing with it is to reduce the demand for the services of those who are trafficked into Northern Ireland. Then he should stand up against those officials within his department and not take the easy way out, and not do what he's doing at the moment, Mark, and this is a worrying thing, by saying we need more research in this, hoping that he'll kick this into touch until the Assembly term is over, and we'll get nothing in this Assembly.
Basil McCrea, isn't one of the difficulties for you and people who take your view on this that we had a former prostitute up here at Stormont today who actually backs this proposed legislation? She thinks it's necessary and would make a difference.
There will always be individual cases, and we're very sympathetic to anybody that's caught up in this. All we can say is...
She's very well qualified to have that opinion, isn't she?
Well, there are lots of people that are very well qualified, and if you look at the international reporting of the Swedish experiment, it does not work. What happens is you drive prostitution underground, you make it worse and more dangerous for people in that situation, and you do not stop prostitution. You cannot legislate your way out of prostitution. It is a social issue, and education is
Nobody's suggesting that. But it's one thing to say that you can't legislate your way out of prostitution, but to sit in your hands and do nothing with legislation which is currently not working and allow people to be exploited is criminal.
Nobody's suggesting doing nothing. The Minister for Justice indicated that he was going to bring forward proposals. Most of the proposals that are in Lord Morrow's bill are already in existence. What you've brought forward will not make matters any better.
OK, we will leave it there. The debate will continue. Sammy Wilson, Basil McCrea, thanks both very much indeed for coming.